Cesar Costa, Vice President of Point, and you will be our mother today. And with that, I'm going to take it to Cesar.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here. Gracias por venir. Antes empezamos, ¿alguien aquí quien prefiera hablar en español? Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure if anyone does come in the room that does prefer to speak Spanish, just let me know at the end of the meeting. We can provide a transcript of what we talked about today in Spanish, or at the very least the questions we can translate pretty quickly. And with that, I'm not going to take up too much time or space from all these people. We have some really great questions. I just want to say how thankful I am they all took the time, the willingness to speak with us. Aura is an urban advocacy group that tries to promote more complete communities, more accessibility to all parts of the city, and equity across the board through land use and transit policies. This event is sponsored by Aura along with other organizations that have similar beliefs and policies. We'll have an intermission around 7:15 where you can get to know more about all of those. But for now, we're so grateful that we can hear about who gets to lead this really important district in our community that has such a rich history and such a rich future. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and say the full names and then have each of them introduce themselves. And we'll give you all about 3 minutes each for that. Is that okay? So we have our first person. I'm just going to go ahead and say, since you're sitting next to me, this is Yvonne Weldon.
Hi, how are you? So I want to thank Aura for, and the partnering groups I understand that are here. I haven't gotten to meet them yet. But for having this forum. Okay, thank you. I know that this was originally planned with just 2 of the candidates running in District 3, but after an outcry on Twitter, I do thank y'all for allowing me to be here and inviting me. I also know that there's another candidate that just signed up this week, and so I am hoping that we will get an opportunity to have another forum as well when all of the filing period is over. I guess we still have another week to go, but I think that there's already 3 or 4 of us on the ballot right now. And also want to meet José Elias. José Noe, I think he's on the ballot, but he wasn't here, I don't know. But it was very impressive that he was able to go door to door. He actually came to my house and left a flyer, and so I appreciate, I'm hoping we'll get to meet him. Now, I grew up here in Austin. I am a product of Austin Public Schools, and just like pretty much everyone here, I've had a front row seat to the changes that are happening here in Austin. However, the changes aren't going so well. We have an affordability crisis. We have a public safety crisis, transportation issues, and so these are some serious issues that we need to address. Since I decided to run for office, I've been told I should not run because I'm not Hispanic. I've been told that I should not use my middle name. And I've also been told that I should get a Mexican dress, okay? I've also been told, I shouldn't let people know how I vote. So going forward, I don't want to run this campaign on identity products. The radical left, communist and Marxist progressive policies are destroying Austin, and we don't want that, just like we don't want the far right extreme fascism. So we need to focus on reversing the city's inefficiency, the duplication and barriers to services and resources, as well as I suspect there's a vast number of abuses and fraud that's going on in the city government. So the only way we're going to be able to resolve that is through a third-party independent audit and investigation. I have briefly glanced at the questions at tonight's forum, and because I'd like to have more of a thoughtful response to these, I'm going to sit back and I want to hear from my opponents, kind of hear, just from their side of it, but I may chime in, but I think I'm going to sit back and listen to these questions. So again, thank y'all. Enjoy tonight's forum.
Thank you. Before I introduce our next candidate, I will ask, since I forgot to say earlier, if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent. And with that, Bertha Delgado, or Bertha Rendon Delgado.
Thank you for the organization and all of the collaborating organizations for doing this. I think it's so important that we kick it off with a good start. And this is our first candidate forum that I have been invited to, and so I'm very proud and honored to be here with my colleagues and with my the other candidates that are sitting here. And it is unfortunate that we are missing 2 more candidates, one that did file and José Elias that does live from Montapuez. I wish he would have been here because this is something that we all need to unite together so we can have an open discussion and we can be transparent, because that's what we're here to do. If you all don't know me, I'm the City of Austin Housing Commissioner for East Austin, demographic area 78702. I served as a housing commission for 7 years, and I'm tired. It's not a sovereign board. They don't listen to me, and I am ready to serve on a bigger capacity. I'm also the president of Easttown Lake Citizens Neighborhood Association, an association that my grandfather and many minority community leaders of East Austin founded in 1974. I still am able to hold the seat here in 2022, which is very hard to do as a Chicana and Latina woman, a native, fourth generation from my neighborhood that I still reside 2 blocks from our council member, Theo Renteria. I'm also the executive director and CEO of Acta Texas, which is an art organization that I founded and I created to preserve the culture of the Chicano and Mexican descent in my barrio and in my community. And just like Ms. Weldon said, natives of Austin, it doesn't matter what color you are, we've all been affected. Our whole entire city has been transformed since we've had a different leadership in our mayor, and our city manager, and our council. And I'm not here to identify those people, but you all know who they are. We have lost not just the character and the modest homes of our communities and our neighborhoods of our barrios, but we've also lost the identity of what Austin is and why people have moved here. Because our population has grown tremendously, so many people are literally hanging on to their homes. The taxes are they have tripled. My parents' taxes, our other grandparents, so many taxes across the city are in a danger zone right now. So what am I going to do? My job is to work for my people. My job is not to work for the government officials that are currently there that have put us into this predicament. My job is to be that voice. It's to figure out a remedy, a solution, and to find a compromising of the new people that have moved here and the old people that are here. We are trying to sustain our people. We are trying to bring back our businesses that we've lost. And for the minority culture, which I speak for the brown and the black, the oppressed, we have really have taken a hard hit. I have lost so many businesses in East Austin that I don't think I can ever bring back. But I am hoping, even if I'm not even allowed to run on this race, I'm hoping to support the candidate that's best to do that. And I'm here to figure out how can we hear from you all, how can you hear from us, and how can the natives of Austin and the newcomers of Austin come together and learn to live together, unite together, and have a good quality of life, because I do not want to leave my city. Thank you.
Next we have Daniela Silva.
Hi, good evening everyone. I also would like to thank Aura, all of the partner organizations, all of the candidates for coming out, and all of you for taking time in your evening to be involved in your community and hear what the different candidates have to say. So again, my name is Daniela Silva. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a progressive, working class, first generation American Latina, and I'm running for city council because our systems need change. We need someone who has the fresh energy and the vision and the drive to do it. So many Austinites feel disenfranchised by our current system of government, by our council, and the people of District 3 deserve a representative who's going to prioritize people over profit and is going to work diligently to make sure that we can help shape a new system that works for everyone. The working class people here in Austin are the lifeblood of the city. I mean, we are Austin and we deserve to stay in Austin. So I'm wanting to just bring that lived experience onto council that can help pass policies that improve the quality of life for all. And this means affordable housing, deeply affordable, truly affordable housing, equitable access to healthcare and diverse forms of healthcare, regardless of what type of wellness that you want to pursue. and protecting our environment, our natural resources, ensuring that we center climate equity and climate justice, climate resiliency. And with all of your support and together, we can help build a brighter Austin para todos. And it's also important to me as the daughter of an immigrant to think about accessibility when it comes to language. So I know this is being recorded, and if it's okay with everyone, I would also like to say what I just said in Spanish, if that's all right with everyone. So, mi nombre es Daniela Silva y estoy postulando para el Consejo Municipal del Distrito número 3. Soy una progresista de clase trabajadora, miembro de la comunidad LGBT e hija de migrantes. Me estoy postulando para este puesto porque nuestros sistemas necesitan cambio y alguien con la energía, la visión y determinación para hacerlo. Demasiados residentes de Austin sienten que el gobierno no los representa. Y la gente del Distrito 3 merecen una representante que priorice la gente sobre el dinero. Alguien dedicada a construir un nuevo sistema que trabaja para todos. La gente trabajadora son la sangre de esta ciudad. Nosotros somos Austin, merecemos quedarnos en Austin y me estoy postulando para el Consejo Municipal para traer la experiencia vivida que tengo necesario para pasar reglamentos que mejoran la calidad de vida para todos. Necesitamos viviendas asequibles, acceso al bienestar equitativo y la protección de nuestro medio ambiente. Juntos podemos construir un Austin más brillante para todos.
Our fourth candidate tonight is José Velásquez.
Hey, thank y'all, everybody. Thank you to Aura. Thank you to especially Zach. I had some trouble earlier today, and he helped handle it for me. And I want to thank the candidates. And we were just chatting about this in the back, is that it isn't easy to run for office. It isn't easy to run for office. It's a lot of fun, but it isn't easy. So I admire every single person up here on this stage, and I have a lot of respect for everybody up here on this stage. My name is José Velásquez. I'm a fourth generation East Austinite. My family has been in Central Texas since 1890, in East Austin since 1921. My great uncle Roy founded a cab company here in Austin called Roy's Taxi, and he went on to be a political issues advisor to President Truman and President LBJ. And my mother has served 2 state senators. So service is in my blood. I started my first petition when I was 11 years old, and I haven't stopped serving my community since. I'm stepping on this stage because I believe there wasn't a lot of urgency around affordability, and true affordability, and affordability that people can talk about with lived experience and with authority of having grown up here. And that's not to say that nobody else can do that, but you have to be able to marry the old with the new and the way that Austin is moving. And I think what has happened at council sometimes is some very well-intentioned ideas come out of there without understanding the ramifications that they are going to have on the working class people of this city. I'm stepping on this stage for the have-nots. Those are the folks that I've always represented since I was a kid. I went to Metz Martin and got bused across town as part of desegregation at Austin High. And I got to learn, and I've lived the tale of 2 Austins. A lot of people talk, and they use that as political pageantry to talk about the tale of two Austins. I've lived it, and that's why I'm here. I'm hoping to serve as your next city council person. We need somebody that is a proven coalition builder, somebody that understands the community, and somebody that has a proven track record of getting stuff done. I believe that's me. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you again to all of our candidates for being here today. So the format, which was alluded to earlier, we had written these questions in advance and had provided them to the candidates, so they've had some time to review and look at them. They were written by the organizations that are hosting tonight's event. So a lot of them center around the issues that we typically focus on, which are land use, transit, accessibility, and the like. But we were going to ask each candidate, try to contain their answer to about 2 minutes each. If I say, start to wrap up, please don't be offended. The idea is that by the time we're done with today, we'll also have a little bit of time at the end for y'all's questions if you have extras. So yeah, with that, I'll go ahead and start. And again, we'll just start since you're here so conveniently next to me. First question First response from Yvonne. There's a pervasive anxiety in District 3 that long-time cultural makeup and unique character of the district is being eroded by displacement. Many residents view an influx of newcomers and as inextricably linked to displacement and erosion of cultural character. Others welcome the new residents to see the influx of an opportunity for revitalization and renewal. Do you think that East Austin can embrace both old and new residents? And do you think that development and growth are compatible with long-standing cultural character in District 3?
Well, thank you for that question. And that was one of the first questions when I read, and that's why I said I was going to possibly sit down on some of these questions. Because District 3 is more than just about East Austin. I'm in South Austin, okay, over by South Austin Hospital. We also have St. Edward's University. And so it's a very diverse district. Also, it does go into the east side, and it does go into Dan's Hamburgers. As far as our growth goes, yes, we don't have a choice. We're going to have to embrace it, but it's how we embrace it. The gentrification that's happening, that's running, generations of people out of their homes, is something that is very disturbing and very alarming of how it's being done. As I've been going door to door and talking to neighbors, this one 93-year-old, her name is Frida, she's still mowing her own yard. She is concerned about being forced out of her home because of affordability and the gentrification that's happening. So this is definitely an issue that we need to address, but we also need to be able to accommodate the growth that is coming in, because they are coming. They're not going to stop coming, and so we're going to have to continue addressing that.
And Bertha, do you need your question, or do you need to go answer?
Okay, good answer. Basically, I'm just going to answer. It's kind of almost similar to her in a way. We have to embrace it. We have no choice. So the question is, the answer to this is yes. Old residents and new residents. Old residents and new residents have to embrace each other. It's a two-way street here. So we have to embrace, but they have to embrace us too, because we were here first. Second thing is, do you think that the development and growth are compatible with long-standing culture character of District 3? No. And I'll tell you why. Because like she said, District 3 is not just East Austin. The areas of South Austin have been heavily impacted, and their entire culture area has also been, it's been revised. It doesn't even look the same. When you go down to where Dawson Elementary is, it's not the way it looked, 10 years ago. The entire neighborhood and area has transformed, and they're dealing with tax issues just like we are on the other side of I-35. The Battle Bend area, which is an area we serve, Tesla is now there. The entire industrial area off of St. Elmo is being encroached, and nobody knows what's going on. So the entire Congress corridor of that area is being heavily transformed. And so if it changes the the cultural character, yes it does. And so we have an issue, and that's where we need to resolve. We need to compromise, and we need to table this, and we need to talk about how the new development is going to not change the old, a total revamp. We need to have some of our old culture in there as well. Y'all can't just take everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniela.
Yes, thank you for this really important question that I think a lot of people are asking themselves and each other. And to me, this is a yes and situation. It's one of my favorite phrases, and I use it a lot. So yes, I think it is possible. As someone who was born in Houston but chose to make Austin their forever home, who mindfully chose to live in District 3, one, because it's what I could afford, but two, because I wanted to be around other Latina people. And I wanted to build, contribute and be a part of the rich culture and integrate myself into the fabric. And ever since moving here to Austin, I've tried to be intentional about forming community and about contributing to the area where I live, and that means leading park cleanups. That means supporting local businesses pretty much exclusively, and also working with our unhoused neighbors to connect them with the resources that they need to survive until we can get them off the streets and into permanent housing. That being said, this is where the and comes into play. That being said, we have to be mindful that we not only preserve, but uplift the entire history of the district and of East Austin. Our Black and brown communities have existed here for generations, and they literally built Austin and has made it what it is today, and is the reason that people want to move here. It is the cultural backbone. People move here for the art and the music and the food, and that has been driven by East Austin communities. So we need to prioritize creating deeply affordable housing and funding programs that keep people in their homes in order for the communities to stay in Austin. Culture is created by people. So no matter how many murals get painted on walls or how many street names get changed into meaningful figures, if the people who bring the culture aren't around, then it's nothing much but a horse and pony show. So all that is to say, growth and development, again, it can't be stopped. We have to embrace it, but we have to do it in a way that is mindful and intentional for taking into account the needs of existing populations while also following the indigenous wisdom of 7 generations.
Thank you. Jose?
So I had a little bit of a problem with the question. I don't think it's an East Austin issue. I don't think it's an East Austin not being able to embrace both issue. Because I've worked to do this and been successful at building coalitions around things and getting stuff done for the neighborhood. I think it's incumbent upon us, everybody in this room, to build community and to be better neighbors and to cast out those walls that continue to separate us. It's an issue of trust. I think it's an issue of leadership. It's an issue of ambassadors and an issue of lack of communication. A lot of it was forced on East Austin, and like they've alluded to, is that it's not just East Austin that is District 3. District 3 stretches all the way south. In fact, there's more of the district outside of East Austin than there is in East Austin. So I think it's just being better neighbors and understanding that that everybody's just trying to make their way.
So I'll start this next question with Bertha, if that's all right with you. So this question is, the text...
Can you stand up and...
Sorry about that. So I'll ask this question to Bertha first. The question is, the Texas Department of Transportation plans to expand I-35 through Austin to more than 20 lanes through District 9. Many residents, advocates, and experts believe this will worsen congestion, pollution, and crashes, raise properties within the district, and violate Austin's climate transportation rules. If elected to City Council, will you publicly oppose expanding I-35, and will you support a comprehensive study into the community's alternatives, including the Rethink 35 proposal to reroute non-local traffic around town on existing facilities and replace I-35 with an urban boulevard and reconnect Austin's proposal to sink and cap I-35 through downtown with the boulevard?
So, just so you all know, I did participate in the Brain Trust, I-35 Brain Trust that they created 2 years ago, right before a pandemic happened. It was not, obviously it's been dismantled. We haven't been called back for another meeting. As I'm just now recently getting the updates that are being provided to the community. First of all, TxDOT has been trying to push this on the residents for a good time now. And they have been succeeding by going behind our back and creating visions and plans that they think is going to fix the congestion plan problem and the plan for I-35. I am opposing it, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the plans that were being proposed were plans that were model plans from different cities and states that never really even worked. Okay, so we're considered, Austin's considered a guinea pig. They test us, they do pilot programs, they do experiments to see what's going to work and what doesn't work. So the plan that they're trying to propose on us, which is connecting east to downtown by putting I-35 in a tunnel underground, and they want to begin that where Cesar Chavez is, which is where I live, where me and José live, in that neighborhood. Now, there's a buffer zone, right, for East Cesar Chavez neighborhood, for the neighborhood of Guadalupe neighborhood, all of those areas, there's a buffer zone. What happens to the residents, the businesses, and the schools that reside east of 35? The residents have not even had enough input to put into this decision that's being made right now. So I am in opposition of it, and I am wanting to collaborate with my residents and the organizations that are opposing it to do a research and a better plan for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. I have already signed on in public support of Rethink's 35 plan. I have their yard sign in my yard, so it couldn't hide it if I wanted to. Yes, I support the ideas. I think that they'll improve overall quality of life for Austinites, especially those living directly near I-35, by reducing traffic deaths that very frequently happen, by reducing sound and air pollution in the area, which already communities that live near highways, like I live by Ben White, and my air filter is filthy all the time. We have to constantly change the air filters. So helping to remove traffic also improves air quality. And it helps to free up space for more dense, affordable housing that we want to see near transit corridors. And affordable, capital A affordable, deeply affordable, things that the majority of the district, which 50% of the district is considered low income, a third of the district is considered very low income, housing where folks within these groups can live. Incorporating either Rethink 35 or Reconnect Austin's proposal also work towards increasing equity and healing the geographic injustices that I-35 created in the establishment of the 1928 master plan, which created segregated areas, as all of you know, where black and brown families were uprooted and forced to move. So I think by either replacing or at least sinking I-35, we can start to actively work to eliminate that Jim Crow era border.
So I don't get it. Are you for the 35 plan or you're against the 35 plan?
We'll have some time to.
Okay, because I was not quite sure with her answer. Okay.
But I would love to hear Jose's answer.
So as I said earlier, I'm a fourth generation Austinite. So my family was here and was part of the forced migration from from downtown to east of East Ave. So I-35 it's a monument to segregation, a monument to racism for me. When I was growing up, we used to call it the Great Wall of Austin because not many resources came over this side. And I was joking with somebody earlier that I don't think it wasn't until I was a teenager that I actually crossed 35 because we had everything that we needed right there in East Austin. So as it stands now, I want 35 to come down. And I do believe that we need a full cap and a sunken highway. And while I do appreciate all that my dear friend Adam and his coalition is doing, what I can guarantee is that they'll have a seat at the table when we do have these. Should I be elected, they'll have a seat at the table when we do have these necessary conversations. Because regardless of what happens, we need to have difficult and honest conversations about the things that are going on in Austin, and this needs to be a community-led effort. And we need to embrace as many stakeholders as possible. A lot of times what happens in Austin is people talk about coalitions that they're building, and the coalitions really exist in a monolith. And I think that's what happened to something that we need to change is the land development code. I think the coalitions that were built around the first proposed rewrite existed in a monolith, and it wasn't a very good sample of Austin. And we also need to ensure that equity is proposed and the folks that suffered through and continue to suffer from the ramifications from the 1928 master plan have a voice in designing of this next project.
Thank you. Anyone?
So on this particular question, I've like you mentioned, that not enough people have had a seat at the table to be able to discuss this. And I've attended one online forum. It's my understanding that The 22 lanes is one particular proposed suggestion. I am on I-35 every single day. There is no doubt it needs to be expanded. Now, it will not be expanded 22 lanes. That's ridiculous to take away the lines. However, I do believe it needs to be expanded, maybe 1 or 2 lanes, because one accident, one truck that comes through, it is the major route from Mexico to Canada. It is not something that's going to go away. And these, some of these extreme left and these extreme right, the 22 lanes, and to completely tear it down, they are two extremes. We need to come to the table to come up with different solutions where it may need to be expanded, it may need to be, but we need to have other routes, because what's going to happen is that traffic is going to divert onto Congress Avenue, to South First, to Manchac, or on the east side to Pleasant Valley, and it's just going to create a bigger nightmare. So we're going to need to have more additional solutions and different options. So.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Right. So the next question we'll ask Daniela, if you could be the first to ask, or first to answer. Apartments are currently banned in much of Austin's urban core.
We can't hear you.
Sorry about that, y'all.
Maybe stand up when you read the question so
Yes.
everybody can hear you.
Thank
you.
You got it. Apartments are currently banned in much of Austin's urban core. Where in the urban core should they remain illegal, and why?
So I think that diversity in housing types is crucial to addressing our current housing crisis and issues of affordability. So if elected as a council member, I would work towards modifying the land development code in a piecemeal fashion, with the end goal being to create more housing diversity and affordability in more areas of the urban core, while protecting the few remaining green spaces that we have, increasing parkland, and ensuring that the rapidly diminishing areas of cultural community aren't erased.
Can I ask a question?
We all have time for questions at the end.
I just got here because
So,
I
sorry.
just want to find out whether, are you asking individually, individual persons to everybody?
We'll ask
Yeah.
each candidate gets to read the same, gets to answer the same question.
Yeah.
And we'll do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
I just wondered who was first, who was second, third, and
Daniela was the first to answer. Thank you for that. Jose, if you could be the second.
We need to legalize housing in Austin. We need all types of housing for all types of people in all parts of Austin. But it needs to be a citywide lift. What we've had now is the Eastern Crescent and South Austin, and District 3, 2, and 1 have seen the majority of that lift. And housing is a complex issue. Housing is a very complex issue. But every side of town needs to help with this lift.
And I think I'm kind of in agreement. Yes, we definitely need to have multiple types of housing. However, I also do believe that it's community-based. So in, like for example, in the east side of Austin, where there are some neighborhoods that want to be preserved, they want to keep that, I support that. But we need to have those communities to be able to speak up and hear from them. In my area, where there's more gentrification that is happening, like on my street, I wouldn't mind seeing some more high-density developments. Now, as far as the urban core, the answer to the urban core, I mean, it's going to depend on the particular location. I definitely support that we need to look at the land development code, but make sure that it's done correctly and equitably for all parts of Austin, not just certain agendas.
Bertha, please.
Right. So answering the question, apartments are currently banned in much of Austin's urban core. Where in the urban core should they remain illegal and why? So I'm not an attorney, so I don't know why they're illegal, but I do know we have provisions on them. As a commissioner, one of the challenges I've had, thank you, is to making sure that affordability is placed in the developments that are currently being developed through the fee and lieu. If you are a developer, or if you are aware of planning and zoning, the developers that are coming in to rebuild on the urban core are making a negotiation with the city They're not providing affordability because of the moderate family income that's set by a federal guideline of 80%. So yes, we're talking about affordability, but the federal guideline states 80%. So that is a very tricky question because we have to go to legal and ask why is it illegal? And if we were to change it to legal, what benefit are we even going to get when it comes to affordability? Because affordability in Austin is not affordable. You have to have an affordable complex of single family of giving at a 30% of moderate family income to be able to afford to live here. Right now we're at 80. So affordability is out the question at this point until guidelines on the federal level are changed and City of Austin starts changing a lot of those provisions and rules. Until that, we're not going to be talking about no affordable. So that question is a legal question and I'm not an attorney. Thank you.
Allison.
I'll learn.
Okay, so this next question, Jose, if you could be the first to answer. The Austin region is growing from 2 to 4 million people, with most of our additional people expected to be people of color. How will you change city and regional policy to give a majority of residents of the region options to afford to live healthy, low-carbon lifestyles in dense walkable places with access to frequent transit?
Encourage more pedestrian and cycling traffic by ensuring safer streets, bike lanes, green spaces, walking trails, and equitable access to public transportation. Work for more affordable housing options that truly represent the lived experience of Austinites. Preserve and build more affordable housing stock to accommodate native Austinites and newcomers. And honestly, this is one that I always go back to is we really need to bridge the deep divide that there is between the have and the have-nots in Austin, Texas, and have serious conversations about that.
Thank you. Yvonne, same question.
As a person of color, I'm going to pass on that question. Thank you.
Bertha.
Okay. So the Austin region is growing to 2 to 4 million people. Woo, as we know. The most of our additional people expected to be are people of color, so I am a person of color. How would you change the city and regional policy to give a majority of residents of the region options to afford to live healthy, low carbon lifestyles, dense walkable places, and access to frequent transit? Okay, how I would do it, I would tell our government body and our dais that's foreseeing the entire area to be transformed, the infrastructure of Project Connect is coming, and this project is going to displace thousands of people. Thousands of people.
Yes.
And so as walkable, transit, lifestyles, low carbon, healthy, all of that, it doesn't apply to the people of color. Because the people of color does not live there anymore. We've lost our housing. Austin, just so you all know, there's no more affordable housing on the corridors or even near transit. Even our bus system has been rerouted. So nobody no longer is using transit anymore. And according to the new discussions that are being done with Capital Metro, transit's not even affordable for low income and people of color and the working class that have to get to work. We are in a huge issue right now of displacement. And there was, I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, $400 million through the Project Connect that was allocated for displacement on the main corridors. So we are fighting for, is it 300? Yeah. Okay, $300 million. So the question is there is no affordable housing.
And Daniela.
Thanks so much. So on a city level, I would support re-examining single-family zoning and parking minimums to accommodate for larger family households, which right now developers aren't incentivized to build because they have to give a parking space for each bedroom that exists. So if we want more multi-generational housing, if we want people who maybe want to cohabitate with other folks, we've got to re-examine our parking minimums for developers. Trying to reduce barriers for changing commercial zoning to residential. If we're wanting more walkable cities, we want there to be more amenities throughout the city and not just in certain areas where you have housing over here and you have amenities over here and you have to be car dependent to be able to get to your grocery store, to your baker, to your doctor. So if we make it easier in certain areas, of course, it's a case-by-case basis, of reducing barriers for commercial to residential, we could try and make our communities more integrated. And then, allowing more units per lot if you want to have ADUs, or if you have, perhaps you want to build smaller scale homes for smaller families. Also setting a lower time limit for city staff to complete the site plan review and permitting processes, because this is incredibly expensive to do and it's unnecessarily burdensome. And further incentivizing smart housing so we can draw more builders to creating lower income housing, especially around the transit corridor. So that's on the city level. Speaking on the regional level, I would like to work to expand interlocal agreements through CAMPO, the CAP Metro Board, and ATP to ensure that transit to underserved areas is increased, because there isn't enough. That current transit grows to keep pace with the rapidly growing population, and that direct lines of transit are built from all corners of the greater Austin metropolitan area. So I would continue to support projects that are designed to increase transit in our core corridors like Project Connect, while not directly related to...
I'll ask you to go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think it's also important that we keep in mind how we work with other regional areas to develop other towns and cities, so that hopefully some of this pressure that's put onto Austin, because it's such an awesome city, that we can help incentivize people to live in surrounding areas, and we have transit to get back and forth and connectivity.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so I'm getting the flag that we're getting close to our intermission period. And let's see here.
5 minutes. It depends if you want to do one more question or not.
Y'all think you can get one more in? One more in. Okay, so we're going to do one more question, then we're going to take a break for you to go to the booths and see what information these great candidates have, as well as the information of our hosting organizations. Thank you all again for doing this. And we'll start where we started. So this question. So let's see. Capital Metro Service Guidelines state, and studies have shown, that residential and employment density are primarily influences of transit demand and are typically necessary to support cost-effective transit service. Given that a new light rail line will be running through District 3 along Riverside, what policies would you support to ensure its success?
So, one of the side gigs I've done on the side is I have occasionally done rideshare. And constantly I am picking up people who are having to take the bus, or who might take the bus, but had to miss the bus because the bus was rerouted. Mm-hmm. There was no, something was canceled, or it's just not efficient for them. And so Capital Metro, at least in our district, has failed our residents. It does not meet their needs. Most people are not going to walk, a quarter of a mile, a tenth of a mile, a quarter of a mile to get on a bus that's going to take them 2.5, 3, 4 hours to get to their end point, because maybe they have to transfer. Most people on the train are not going to be going to who may be going to 4th Street, may not be working right there. They may have to work on, let's just say they go to Whole Foods. And to go from Pleasant Valley to Whole Foods, well, even if there is a train, there would be no way for them to get there in downtown. And so it's just not, it's not an efficient. So I do support effective transportation, but I want to make sure that these routes are actually going to effectively help the residents of District 3, as well as that the residents of District 3 that get that will be able to subsidize be able to afford to be able to get on the train.
So just so you all know, I am an activist, and I did fight Oracle when Oracle came and bought up all of East Riverside and displaced hundreds and hundreds of poor, low income and working families. So this area that you're talking about is very sensitive and dear to my heart. to see what it is now. Oracle came with their tech company and their entire staff, and they all enjoy the view of Town Lake. And we don't, because our people have been displaced from there. So just so you all know that I did not agree with the train being put on East Riverside corridor. If I were to be elected, my first advocacy is to making sure that that development is a smart development, that it's not just going to bring families back and residents are going to be able to stay there that are there right now, and the businesses that are now shutting down. Longhorn Daiquiris has been told on East Riverside that they have to go because they will not renew their lease. So minority businesses are being displaced as we speak. I will ensure that our businesses remain. I will ensure that our residents stay. I will make sure to create a policy to ensure that we have real affordability in all of the condos that are going to be built in the future. And then I would make sure that Capital Metro is held accountable for what they are doing. They are getting away with making these decisions without the citizens and the taxpayers of Austin.
Thank you. Daniela?
So Yvonne's totally right. Walking a half mile, quarter mile, is really inaccessible for a lot of people, especially if you are in a wheelchair or you struggle to walk, you have mobility issues, which is why when we do have these transit developments, the housing around those areas should be the densest in order to encourage walkability and to remove that long distance between the stops and where you're living. So in order to not only encourage walkability and mobility through public transit, we also want to help slow the expansion of public sprawl. And so to do this, we need to look at passing VMU2. Restrictions on compatibility can be reduced, and incentives need to be increased to encourage developers to build dense, affordable, capital A affordable, walkable, and sustainable mixed-use development. We'll also have to work with groups like HACA and foundation communities to ensure that deeply affordable housing is being included in District 3's transit-oriented developments. Otherwise, these developments will do nothing but provide housing for the wealthy, displace low-income families, and worsen existing gentrification in the area. So creating a program to incentivize supporting local businesses to occupy the commercial parts of the developments will additionally be vital to supporting the existing communities and avoid the corporate sanitization of the east side.
Thank you. José?
Encourage and allow subsidies and reduction in fees for our community partners with underutilized land, like AISD, Travis County, and Cap Metro. Density hubs to encourage growth and public transit utilization. Incentivize more affordable housing units by removing height restrictions for VMU projects along major thoroughfares, and revisit the minimum parking requirements.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, we're going to take a brief break. Please check out some of the resources at our tables. Thank you again to all of our candidates for being here. For my timekeeper, Lon, and for our president / my child care specialist, Zach. And we'll come back here in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, we'll see you. Okay, so before we get back to our candidate questions, we do want to give a little bit of time to each of the organizations that helped put on this event. So I'm just going to call them up one at a time. They're going to give a little bit of a spiel about what their organization does, and we hope you can be involved in the future. So first is our organization, Aura, and our president, Zach Vitus.
10 seconds, but my time is available.
10?
Yes, sir.
You gotta give me a 30 maybe.
No.
Howdy, my name is Zach Faddis. I'm the president of Aura. Aura is an organization that fights for abundant housing for all Austinites and a safe, reliable transportation system. Cost of housing in Austin is far too high. We are seeing shortages of bus drivers, lifeguards, and teachers because working class people are struggling to afford to live in the city. The reasons are well known. In much of our city, we prohibit all but the most expensive form of housing, a detached single-family home on a large lot. Our housing policy is a devastating failure, and we need a city council brave enough to fix it. Unfortunately, the current system favors voices of the most privileged landowners who fear departure from the status quo more than they fear rising housing prices. Aura is building a movement to create a city that welcomes all, that provides economic opportunity, freedom of mobility, and abundance to all who wish to call Austin home, both old residents and new. Step one in this vision is electing a pro-housing, pro-transit majority to City Council. In November, 5 council seats plus the mayor will be up for re-election. Aura will be holding forums, endorsing candidates, and then doing our damnedest to get those candidates elected. Need help. Need your help. Come speak to me or any of the other Aura people here. Go to our tables, join our community, and help us elect that majority that we need. Thank you.
President of Friends of Austin Neighborhoods. Sorry?
No.
Oh, well,
Treasurer of
Treasurer.
Friends of Austin
My apologies.
and co-founder. Hi, everybody. Roger Cobbin. Friends of Austin Neighborhoods is a coalition of neighborhood associations. A coalition of neighborhood associations and residents, reclaiming the word neighborhood to include the full diversity of voices, moving beyond neighborhood protectionism. We envision an Austin where all kinds of people can get around by walking, biking, taking public transportation, and where they can also live in the house and the neighborhood of their choice. If you'd like to learn more about the organization and possibly join, which is free, you can see me at the table over here later. Thank you.
Chris Riley with Safe Streets Austin.
Thanks. I am Chris Riley, and I am with Safe Streets Austin, as you might have guessed. Safe Streets Austin is a fairly new organization, just as of this year, but it's actually been around for a long time in different forms. It actually represents a merger of 3 other existing organizations: Bike Austin, Walk Austin, and Vision Zero ATX. And you think about what all those groups have in common is that we're committed to a vision of transforming Austin's streets and trails into safe, pleasant, and appealing places that we can all enjoy, and that we can and will provide an environmentally friendly, sustainable way for Austinites to get around as the city continues to grow. This is a big task and it covers an awful lot of things that go straight to our quality of life, and there's an awful lot going on, so we could use your help. We're currently trying to build our membership and even our board of directors to be a more active and alive organization. We're hoping to have paid staff as of next year. So we really need your help as we build this movement all together. So if you're interested in all that stuff about how our streets and trails work in Austin, please go to safestreetsaustin.org. Just sign up on our mailing list. It doesn't cost you a thing. All you got to do is enter your email address, and at least you can see what we're up to and keep up and choose to participate in campaigns as they come up, because there's a lot of things coming up these days. There's an awful lot going on in the world of streets and trails in Austin. And we need your help to make sure that it happens in a way that helps all of us. Thank you all so much for
I know about Safe Streets in Austin.
Ma'am?
I've been here 78 years.
Ma'am, if we just keep the questions until the end.
No, I don't think these are my business.
Next up, we have Daniel K. with Austin Farm&City.
Hello everybody, my name is Daniel Kavelman. I'm a policy staffer at a 501c3 nonprofit called Farm&City. We work to advance, both in Austin and various cities across Texas and at the state level, a suite of policies related to transit, transportation, and housing. We are working together in Austin to bring coalitions together to advance a bunch of different policies that are going to lead to a more equitable city where everybody feels safe and feels welcome and can afford to live here, including on, low climate, low carbon, affordable, walkable, dense lifestyles available to all, not only in Austin, but in other Texas cities. We work at the state level advancing our Vision Zero Texas program working to make sure that every project that the Texas Department of Transportation, CTRMA, and the cities and counties are putting forward has, reasonable speeds and safety measures, because, every day that one person, a death a day on the roads is too many. Like a death a year is too many. And so we're working to get to 0 deaths on roads in Texas and in the cities and counties, and bring coalitions together to advance sensible policies for affordable, climate conscious and safe lifestyles for everybody. Thank you.
Last up, we have Kelsey Hughes with Rethink I-35.
Hi, I'm Kelsey with Rethink 35. If you haven't heard, we're the group that is suing TxDOT. We believe that the $5 billion plus expansion of I-35 is only going to bring more traffic. It does not solve that problem as we've seen in Houston. It will bring more noise, pollution, deaths. What was the other thing?
Yes.
Yes, deaths. And we don't want that. So we believe it's time to rethink what that space should be used for in our city and work with the community for something new.
Yes.
So we have a petition online, rethink35.com. Please sign. We also have a candidate pledge. We hope that everyone here will sign on to commit to at least studying something else. That's all we're asking for. We don't want to expand. We want something else. Let's try it. So thank you all for being here.
With that, we'll begin our forum again. So if I could ask our panelists to please resume, take their seats. And a bit of housekeeping. So I got some good advice from the audience when we were in executive session, we'll call it. From now on, I'm going to be standing up and projecting towards the crowd. I will also ask the candidates, if they're answering a question, to go ahead and stand up and address the crowd that way. Second bit, I love the enthusiasm. I love that you all are here. I love the energy. But we want to make sure to respect people's times and respect our candidates who came out here. We asked them for their answers. So please, no booing, no jeering, and keep the clapping to a golf clap. I know, it's hard. This is good energy in the crowd.
You want us to do this?
That works too. And then lastly, for any questions from the audience, as I said, when we wrap up our official questions, raise your hands and I'll pull a few people. We just want to make sure to be respectful of everyone's time and end the event on time. So if you have a question that isn't answered, I think they'd be more willing to hang out and answer them directly. That being said, we'll just try and keep it pace. So thank you again. And with that, we'll start this next round. Oh, and instead of me saying, hey, time's close up, you can just watch this waving folder, and I'll tell you about it. So thank you. We'll go ahead and start this next question. We'll start with José. So this question says, during the pandemic, Austin saw the rapid installation of protected bike lanes on Commerce Avenue, street space reallocation on South Pleasant Valley Road, on Longhorn Bridge, and the popular citywide Healthy Streets program. At the same time, cities around the world are seeing new possibilities for how we use streets and are reallocating street space to provide more room for those walking, bicycling, using micromobility, and gathering. Do you support this trend? And what specific policies do you see in Austin?
I support the trend within reason. And it comes back to communication.
And if I could ask you to stand.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. One thing that the pandemic also did is it exacerbated the weight that mom and pop small businesses were having to shoulder. And the one thing that the city has been historically miserable at is communication. In fact, we were chatting about that with a few people in the back earlier right now. And so I love the idea of safer streets and concept, but the rollout by the city wasn't great. I personally had a ton of small business owners contact me because the city failed to properly communicate about the closures, and it was affecting their already dwindling sales. And also, the advocacy is a privilege, right? So no matter how well intentioned something is, a lot of people get left out of the process because they have the misfortune of being poor and/or working 2 or 3 jobs. So all of it comes back to communication, and I'll leverage the trust and relationships that I have in the community to help projects like these better roll out.
Thank you. Daniela.
Okay, great. So as someone who cares deeply about the environment and about health and well-being, I'm a cyclist. I like doing a little bike-bus combo where I put the bike on the rack and take the bus around. So I am absolutely in support, and I think it's really important to cultivate these visions alongside the development of the public transit system so we don't put the cart before the horse. Once the light rails are developed, there could be opportunities to shut down certain streets to vehicular traffic and turn them into boulevards only accessible to public transit, bikes, pedestrians, and micromobility. Including city e-bikes near every public transit stop, especially light rails, makes the usage of these municipal services much more accessible. So if you do get off the bus, you've got a mile to go, you can hop on an e-bike and get there easily and affordably if it's accessible to you. So while we're working on pedestrian-centered development, I think creating regulation around micromobility is super important. Scooters have become a little bit of a nuisance, an eyesore, and frankly an environmental issue across the city. So let's work with the business owners to create designated docking or parking stations throughout their service areas, perhaps establishing an incentive program to properly park them, while also setting fines for scooters that are dumped in parks, wooded areas, and our waterways. Finally, as we move towards a more transit-friendly city, it's important to address the inequity of transit fares for buses, trains, and bikes. If this is not addressed, the furthering of transit inaccessibility for transit development will soon become inaccessible to the people that it's currently serving the most, which are working class families and our unhoused neighbors. I also drive for Lyft as a way to make income, and a vast majority of the folks that I'm driving are just getting to and from work. So this needs to be addressed. Thank you.
We switched places, so sorry about that. Yes, we do need to have multiple forms of transportation. However, one thing about Austin is we are not Portland. We are not Seattle. We are not LA. We are not Chicago. We are not New York City. We are a very unique city with different dynamics from those other cities. And what we need to do is we need to come together with different types of transit plans. Now, I don't know how many of y'all go down Riverside and how many times you have been on Riverside, bumper to bumper traffic, waiting to get from Pleasant Valley to I-35 and stuck in traffic while you see this empty lane and that's for a bike lane only, or the bus lane only, and you're just sitting here in traffic and watching that empty lane sit there. Or the number of people that I've spoken to on these bike lanes that have been cut off while we're sitting here in traffic, and there's one lane that's designated that's cordoned off for the bike lanes. We need to have, we certainly need to have multiple forms of transportation, and I believe that there are some other solutions like these empty sidewalks. And why not repurpose some of these sidewalks to be able to have a bike lane and, a pedestrian way where, people can utilize both. And then there are going to be some areas like on South First. You're not going to be able to put a bike lane on that particular stretch, and so finding alternative routes around. But we're going to need to come up with different solutions to definitely deal with the transit, crisis. But it's not, what we're doing is obviously not working. So.
So they mentioned during the pandemic, Healthy Streets created a pilot program and went to our council member and approved it. So the fact that the city knows that this is a major issue, the fact of lack of communication falls on city leadership. They failed to include us in any of the vision plans of mobility and transit, okay? They only get certain people that they want to put on certain committees to oversight that and make those decisions and speak for the population. So we have a major issue, not with communication from the city to the community. The city's made the decisions for us already. We have a major issue with the trend of the young people that are my kids' age, 20 and 24, and the 30s and the 40-year-olds. There's a trend, like my brother, that rides a bike, that loves to ride a bike and transit throughout the whole city with a bike if he could. There's so many like us that are disabled, elders, children that are not using that trend. So we have to come with a solution to compromise. So the pedestrians and the bike riders could get, a part of the city. We can reconstruct the city to accommodate them, but we also need to be accommodated too. Are these transit ways that are being developed, are they even big enough for wheelchairs? Because I hardly see wheelchair accessible people taking that route. I hardly see the bus route, the bus lane that's being used, even being used by buses. So we have major questions, major concerns, and major issues. And I think going behind our back and proposing healthy streets and other plans that they think will be helpful is a wrong way to go about fixing the transit issue here in Austin.
Thank you. And I'll go ahead and ask you to start with our next question. So it's setting affordability requirements on new developments can be a contentious issue in council. Setting requirements low results in fewer subsidized units, but setting requirements high makes housing more expensive to build and can result in less subsidized and market rate housing actually getting built. So the question is, what will be your approach to weighing these concerns and setting affordability requirements?
Well, I think I said that we as a city need to attack the federal government and say change your moderate family income to an affordable percent, because currently right now there is no affordability in Austin. And so again, the affordable housing conversation, because again, we're having an affordable housing bond being put on this general election for you all to pass. How have all the past bonds that have been passed for affordable housing benefit us? That's the question I have as a constituent and as a resident. How have they benefited? Not 2 or 3 bedroom units are even being built for families. They're micro units. They're efficiencies. They're 1 bedroom. How do I know? My daughter lives in the Austin housing affordable complex that was mixed use. It was 100% of public housing in Section 8. Now it's mixed use. And that means that anyone that makes 80% can live there now. And our Section 8 and our public housing recipients are gone. They've been displaced. They no longer can even afford their $800, $900, $1,000 rent because they don't have income. We have an income issue here. We have a living wage issue here. We have an economy issue here that we're not addressing as we're addressing the crisis of housing. It all interacts together. How much you get paid and how affordable is this city to live in is how your rent is being charged. My children are being charged $1,100 for a 1 bedroom unit in this city. So I would have to address it in a really broad conversation to let's bring in what has been happening in the past on our affordable housing bonds and what are we doing to ensure affordability for our constituents.
Yeah, this is affordability. I mean, question is what exactly is affordable, and what may be affordable for me. My taxable income is less than 200% of the federal poverty rate. Now, I do own a home. I do have a mortgage. I also have other sources of income, though. I've learned how to, I can pretty much do this side gig and pay 0 taxes. I figured out how to do this. There are other ways to be able, the question is what's affordable. So what may be affordable for me may be different for you and your family, or for various people, retirees, for the seniors, for students that are coming in here, or there are people that are coming here making $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, and they're complaining about affordability as well. Mm-hmm. So question is what are affordable? We do need to bring people to the table as far as to address some of the issues with the housing, and possibly also seeking certain, higher levels, within the state or even the federal government about some other alternatives. For example, we have, with the federal government, we are offered a health savings account for medical expenses. Why don't we do something similar with housing? Because it is, everybody, to be able to have different solutions from the federal government for taxing or for being able to, not pay taxes or not have tax-free housing, basically. Same thing with transportation as well. So I think that there may be some other solutions that we may need to address in the future about how we address what is affordable for everybody.
All right. So to completely be honest, I would like to call bluff on developers saying that it's too unaffordable to build if there is 15% subsidized housing rather than 10%. I'd like to see the numbers because I find it really difficult to believe. Everyone wants to build in Austin. If one developer says that they cannot build, another one surely will find the financial means to do so. If nothing gets built, this means that people with more purchasing power will likely buy out homes from poorer families and people will be displaced. If market rate housing with not enough subsidized units gets built, still poorer families and people will be displaced. So at least in the former scenario, there's less environmental degradation. So if we're going to further urban development, which is harming surrounding ecosystems like the Edwards Aquifer, at the very least, it should be serving to house our working class families, who are the lifeblood of the city. We are seeing hiring shortages all throughout Austin, from hotel staff to nonprofit workers, to teachers, to bus drivers, to line cooks, because people just can't afford to live here. Building market rate housing without also prioritizing subsidized and deeply affordable housing isn't going to solve that for a little bit. For development that does lead to displacement, making it standard practice for developers to provide a substantial relocation stipend and relieving tenants from the final 3 months of rent is, in my opinion, the very bare minimum.
So what we need to do is we need to start with preserving our existing affordable housing stock. Yeah. And honestly, until we start working to rewrite the land development code, it won't alleviate a lot of this. We'll still have piecemeal projects. But if we are able to rewrite it, we won't be squabbling over crumbs, and we'll get all of the kinds of housing that we need all across the city. As it stands, it's very, very difficult to get developers to build affordable units unless the city is making concessions, because it is ridiculously expensive to build in Austin. I have friends that own small businesses, and it is ridiculously difficult to build in Austin. And that's part of the permitting process downtown. We need to get that department cleaned up, and projects shouldn't be sitting on and waiting to be cleared for up to 2 years at a time. And a lot of times the developers, they can win by attrition. They can win by just stalling you out and waiting, and in the end not having to build the affordable housing at all. So until we get the LDC rewrite, it'll be a case-by-case basis, because there's no one silver bullet to answering the affordability issue. It's going to be conversations, relationships, and trust.
All right, so for Yvonne, gentrification and displacement are likely a top concern for many D3 residents. But many proposed solutions can actually make housing more difficult and expensive to build, effectively making the area more exclusionary. How can City Council protect existing residents from displacement without making it more difficult to build new and diverse forms of housing?
I think we kind of have answered some of these questions, but one of them is definitely going to be dealing with Austin's is an extremely diverse group of people. I mean, we have people who are being, who possibly, I don't know how to explain this. This is a difficult question. So we are going to have to come to the table. I don't have all these answers, and we're going to need to bring the right people to the tables to discuss these issues, to be able to come up with solutions. Because again, my definition of what's going to be affordable is going to be different for the various, the families, the seniors, or the working class, as well as the businesses, the high-tech companies that are coming in and bringing in their high-paid people. So I do believe we need to do is we need to bring everybody to the table to be able to come up with better solutions for us.
So there are programs such as the home repair program that currently exist to help keep people in their home, but they're underfunded and understaffed. So we need to work with developers to also make on-site affordability more feasible so that people can at least, at the bare minimum, stay in their community even if they aren't able to stay in their existing home. Exploring tax relief programs for low-income families to support their payment of property taxes is another avenue that the city could explore to help keep people in their homes. And while developing new forms of housing, it's important to recognize that in our free market capitalist economy, the most reliable way to build wealth is by home ownership. When we remove housing ownership opportunities and replace it with only rental units, which will likely never again be ownership opportunities, we are actively contributing to the racial wealth gap. Opportunities for affordable ownership, whether it's an apartment, a condo, a townhome, a unit in a fourplex or a duplex. I live in a duplex and I would love to own my unit, but I can't afford to do so. We have to have affordable ownership options, and they should account for a larger percentage of the development that is taking place if we truly care about displacement and equity.
It's about being creative, finding practical everyday ways of cutting costs and allowing people with lived experience to inform these policy decisions. Last month, my team, we rolled out what we're calling our Affordable Austin Plan, which calls for full-day pre-K, revisiting city rosters of people that came back to the office that didn't necessarily need to, that can work from home, expanding broadband access, and of course, finding a holistic way of dealing with the housing crisis. We'll be adding before and after school care because that is one of the second most expensive things for parents, and I'm sure you're going to be learning that very soon. And it can be upwards of $1,200. And creating community partner childcare hubs. And after that, it's one of the idea that I had was making concessions in the area with developers to subsidize ADUs along the Eastern Crescent to help families create rental units to be able to offset their property taxes.
Okay, so the people's plan, right? That's what we're gonna do. There is not one, so this is not a plan that's been created. It's our plan. We have major issues here. We've done a lot of the work that's already been said. There has been multiple conversations and studies, and we have major issues. Grandfathering our taxes is what Austinites need to have, especially in the historical neighborhoods.
Yes.
They cannot be taxed out. So how do we grandfather those taxes to sustain these residents, especially longtime residents of Austin, to not just give those homes to their children and create generational wealth, but also protect their quality of life?
Yeah.
Okay, that is a big issue, and if you're a homeowner, then you know. If you're not a homeowner, then you don't know. Okay, so I speak for families that are homeowners, that are people that own their properties and don't want to be removed from their neighborhoods. That's number one. And number two, for the renters like my daughter and my families, they also need to have an opportunity to be able to live in the neighborhoods and in the areas of this city which they would like to be close to their jobs and their schools. And we need to make sure to ensure that that happens. So we have renters, we have homeowners. We have two populations here that we need to think of. And we need to create a plan that is going to be for both of them, not just for one side. We have new and we have old. So we have a huge issue when it comes to developers that propose a plan and promise us affordable housing, promise us all these things, because at the end of the deal, the promises are broken. And we've been seeing that.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have 4 lightning round questions. These are 30-second responses. I'm gonna leave it up to you if you want to stay seated or stand up and pop up each time. But we'll go ahead and start with Daniela. 30 seconds. Does increasing housing supply through market rate housing reduce displacement of existing residents? Does increasing housing supply through market rate housing reduce displacement of existing residents?
No.
I would say no, because supply and demand doesn't exist in a vacuum. We can increase supply to meet the demand, but that's not going to affect all of the people who need deeply affordable housing. So yes, we need market rate housing for folks who make 100% MFI, 120, 200 MFI, because they're buying up the affordable housing because that's the stock that's available. So yes, we need to have market rate housing for those folks, and we also have to have deeply affordable housing so people like me who are, below 30 MFI can have a place to live as well.
Same question. Does increasing housing supply through market rate housing reduce displacement of existing residents?
No.
Okay. Bertha?
Same thing, no, it doesn't.
No.
All right. Next question. We'll start with Jose. Would you support eliminating minimum parking requirements citywide?
Yes.
Citywide or district-wide?
Citywide.
Yes.
No. Not city.
Yes.
Okay, third question to Bertha. Do you think Plaza Saltillo has been a positive addition to the community?
No.
No.
What was the question? The question was, do you think Plaza Saltillo has been a positive addition to the community? And again, I'll ask the audience to listen rather than answer.
No.
I think it has positive aspects of it, but overall didn't have the intended impact that the community thought it would have.
That's my exact same answer.
What's your answer?
Again.
No, but I didn't hear his answer.
That there was good and bad in both of it, but it didn't have the impact that it was supposed to have.
She could have answered.
She did.
Question to Yvonne. Do you support turning car lanes and on-street parking into sidewalks, bike lanes, and bus lanes on major roads and neighborhood streets?
No.
Daniela.
I think it depends on where the road is and the communities that are around it and what the plans are for the future of that community. Making a blanket statement for me is not the way to go here.
Case by case basis.
Perfect.
Case by case.
Thank you. Y'all, I really appreciate you answering our prepared questions. I would like to give each of you 2 minutes to just give a closing statement, and if you had anything you wanted to add on from past questions, go ahead and do it now. 2 minutes. And then we'll give the audience a chance to ask some questions as well. Again, y'all, civil.
Hey, gentlemen.
And if I may, I'll go ahead.
The gentleman first.
I'll go ahead and ask Jose to start.
Oh no, I'm good with it. I don't need to close remarks.
All right.
I appreciate it though. I just want to say thank you. First of all, thank you so I do have something to say. Thank you to all of y'all for coming out. It is a longer forum, but it was a lot of information, and it's a lot of information for these amazing folks to also process and to be up here and have prepared remarks to be able to come and deliver to you. So thank y'all so much for being here with us today. It means a lot, and especially right now when people are really disengaged with local governments, it's inspiring to see this many people in this room.
Oh, okay. First of all, just again, thank you all for being here. It's a democracy. I love it. I'm a political junkie. My grandfather and my mother are activists, and so this is a passion. This is in my blood, and I'm here, just to be a public servant. I've been a public servant. I want to continue to be a public servant, but I want you all to be very careful about who you select, because we need to be careful about how we shape the city for the next couple of years. And so I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned for my families, for my children, for my grandchildren. I'm a grandma. And I'm really concerned in the direction of the city. And so that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Hi, thank y'all. I do want to thank ARA and all the partnering organizations for being here and hosting this. And of course, definitely for all of you that showed up and all of you that are listening as well. This is, Austin is a great city. You know, growing up here, we have a lot of great things that are happening here in Austin. With the number of people coming here and the diversity, I probably met more people from Sweden than anywhere else just because from their accent. I asked them where they're from. But we do have a great deal of diversity. We have a great dynamic of people. But we need to focus on, you know, some of the critical things that are happening, the public safety, the crime, the homelessness situations. And so it's more than just housing, it's more than just transportation, but we do need to focus on more of the critical issues that are happening, such as public safety. And thank you.
Yes.
Again, I would like to also thank everyone, especially because I've attended and I've seen many forums like this before, and it tends to be kind of the same political circles that are attending. So I'd like to commend Aura, I'd like to commend the candidates for bringing out their communities, because the crowd that I see here, like, y'all are the members of the communities, and that is exactly who I was hoping to see, is people who are able to listen to all of the candidates and be as informed as possible when making their elections. So I just want to commend everyone for this incredible group of people that we've had here today. For too long, Austin's MO has been, if we don't build it, they can't come. But we see in our current situation that that's just not the case. At the same time, the status quo mentality has been new or affordable, sustainable or affordable, near the city center or affordable. Well, status quo isn't really my brand, and I'd like to have the opportunity to shake things up and rethink how we approach these long-standing problems. I'm running for District 3 to bring creativity, vision, and drive onto City Council. If elected, I will bring my lived experience as the daughter of an immigrant, a working class renter, a member of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, combine it with my academic and professional backgrounds, and have it all be led by my calling to serve. Together and with your support, we can shape Austin to be more equitable, more prosperous, and more diverse, and overall a brighter Austin para todos.
Thank you all so much. So it's about 8:10, folks. We wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. So I think we have enough time for everyone. If we gave everyone 2 minutes to answer each question, maybe 2 or 3 questions. So first hand up, first serve.
Thank you so much. This is a yes or no question, and it hasn't been broached in this debate yet. And that is about climate change. And I would like to know from you all if you would support getting rid of fee in lieu of, expanding the criteria for protected trees, and would you support a moratorium on the cutting of trees in Austin because of climate change? Yes or no questions.
And we'll just go ahead and start.
I would support on the fee in lieu. Everything that Daniela said, I'm in full support. So yeah.
I would say definitely. I mean, I love my pecan trees. I go out and they're beautiful. I definitely would support as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of trees. I actually asked, so in my rental unit, they were replacing the fence. And I said, are y'all going to touch the trees? Please, whatever you do, preserve the trees. And they actually built the fence around the trees on the tree line. So there may be cases where smaller trees do need to be taken down in order to build an ADU or whatever the case may be. But for the most part, we have to protect our soils. We have to protect our deeply rooted plants to help as flood mitigators, to help as cooling agents for areas of heat islands in the district. So for the most part, absolutely am a huge supporter. But again, I think blanket statements can be really difficult.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir.
In 2018, the city of Austin approved the $250 million bond for affordable housing, but they spent so far 77.7% of the money and only built 33% of the promised affordable housing with that bond. Do you continue to support bonds for affordable housing or revamping our permitting codes and the cost of to build in the city of Austin? So right now, to build a single-family home just in fees before you buy the materials and land, it costs $41,000. And that gets passed on to either the renter or the buyer.
We'll start with you.
I want to see an audit of that because, you know, even those numbers, I'd like to see exactly where that money went from. So no, I do not support until we see where the money that we've been spending on this affordable housing is. I don't support any additional supporter bonds.
For me, it's a yes and it's both. I think we should be exploring all avenues to creating affordable housing, whether it's reducing the cost of the housing and also adding subsidized support.
I do support the bond, but we also need to be better stewards of tax dollars and also revisit exactly what you're talking about in the permitting office because it is ridiculously expensive to even start a project. And I think a lot of that comes from Austin Energy and the water folks.
I have a question.
Just let her answer first.
I do not support the housing bond, and I'll tell you why. I have watched bonds get passed, and the money gets watered down, and we can't even get an audit, or we can't even get an accountability of where that money was spent. And I've watched it over and over and over. It happened at the Rendon Holly Shores Master Plan. $2 million was allocated, and they cannot give me an accountability of where that money went. I'm dealing with that as a housing commissioner. I've asked for an audit from the home repair program. I've asked for an audit from the housing, and they're still challenging me. So no to bonds, especially AISD bonds.
And we're going to make this one the last question, if it's all right with y'all.
Over.
If you have questions afterwards, I think the candidates would do want to speak to individuals. We just want to make sure to wrap up and close out. But this Madam Chair had a question.
Yes, I have a question. I usually don't come to these meetings because it's all political. I've been out of the political circle for a long time, for about 20-something years, and I just recently came back because I'm a widow. So, and I'm born and raised here, and I'm pushing 78 years old. So, I'm hanging in there, but as far as these kids are going, I agree with all of them, you know, because I love to see them engage in the politics. I enjoy that they're getting involved, but what I don't agree is the fact of some of the people that are here that are being pushed by somebody else and being backed up by somebody else into politics. But that's not the case. It doesn't matter to me. If they want to go ahead and
Ma'am, is there a question?
Yes, there is a question. My question is that she spoke from the heart. She spoke from the heart. She spoke from a phone and she spoke from his iPad. And I wanted to find out whether you gave them the answers or the questions
Yes.
to them beforehand.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I
So
want.
we study them.
Yes, I wasn't sure. I wasn't here, so I don't know whether, that happened or not.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the beginning of our form, but we explained that all of the candidates received questions in advance.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about, because, he was looking at his iPad and looking at their phone, and, these two were speaking from the heart. And I never saw these two really, especially speaking from the heart. And this is what I see. This is what I like. I like to see them speaking from the heart. And you have to respect me because of this building here, you're here. And because my husband fought in the war, you're here. And decorated here and there and stuff.
I do respect you and
So-
respect everyone who came out tonight. Thank you all so much. I was an organizer for many, many years before I came to Austin, and I can tell you the worst job in public service is being a candidate. So thank you all so much for doing it. It's hard.
Can we
Appreciate
get
all
another
your time.
question in? And if we had more time, listening to your questions, but not ours.
I think
I mean,
yes,
yes, we're a little bit
so I think if you want to talk to the candidates individually, they'd be more than willing to
Well,
talk
no,
to
we
you.
wanted to talk to all of them.
It's not as context, they're gonna kick us out like relatively soon. I mean.
What time do they close?
8:30.
So it's not good to have maybe just a couple questions?
We certainly ready to pack the room and
We'll help you out.
It's just that the hands were raised and they weren't called on. in an order, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna continue having these kind of forums,
You have to
We have to
allow.
allow the people to
We
talk.
also have to make sure that we respect everyone's time.
Yeah,
So
but
again,
what about our time?
you're welcome to stay and speak with them.
No, that's what we're saying, publicly, you know, we're here, we sat down and listened to everything. At least give us a minute or two to say something.
Do you want to talk or do you want to ask a question? Because you can still ask a question.
Where Michael asked the questions.
I just had different questions, besides prepared questions, but most of that.
Well, so, I'm sorry, I think everyone wants questions, there's questions in the back, there's questions everywhere. We actually are really pressed for time, we're not lying to you. We should really close up shop. And I know you're disappointed in that question, it was intentional, but we should really shut this down, because of course you want to ask a question and you do too, there's like 4 questions in the back. Everyone's disappointed, we get it. Hopefully you'll have more time for questions in the future, if these candidates are here. You can't get every question in, I'm sorry to say that, but we actually really need to start closing the shop.
And you call yourself community oriented?
Yes. Alright, thanks guys.
Thank you for that comment, because I saw the question this morning. I saw that question.